Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Saturn is turning retrograde end of June. On the 29th, 30th of June, Saturn will be retrograde. In this video, I will tell you what this means from my perspective, from the perspective of the ancient astrology, applying the sidereal zodiac, which, as you know, is the starry zodiac. This is the literally the positions of the planets, and we also take into consideration the degrees, all 360 degrees, of course, of the zodiac. We take into consideration the actual positions of the planets and the stars. So we will look at that. Then I will tell you what this means for the 12 ascendants, and I will be looking at each of the 12 ascendants. Now, Saturn is turning retrograde on the 29th or 30th of June, and he will be retrograde for a very long time until 15th of November. And this is an event. This is important because Saturn is very important. And I will remind to you how important he was for the previous civilizations. Only look at the Romans. Look at Saturnalia, the festivals around the New Year time. So Saturn was very, very important lord. Speaking from the Babylonian, Akkadian, Mesopotamian perspective, as you probably know from also from my previous videos, Saturn is God Ninurta. He is the Lord of Karma. He is the great warrior. He is the wise man. He is ruling agriculture. He is ruling the irrigation systems. Saturn is very important Lord. They would not fear him so much. They would fear Mars more. This I think I mentioned previously too, just to remind to you. So nothing to be so much afraid of, because the nature of Saturn is somehow predictable. Yes, he is malefic planet together with Mars, Pluto, Uranus. He's considered malefic planet, but still, when we understand his nature, when we understand his, if you want, his requirements from us as a karma lord, actually he's not such an evil planet. He's the lord of karma, he's the lord of tears, he's the lord of morals, and yes, according to the Greek mythology, he is also the lord of time, chronos, chronology, we say. So when he's retrograde, his energy is very much intensified for two reasons. First is that he is very near Earth, so we really sense his energy. Second is, of course, because of his very high hierarchy. He is very important, very high on the sky, very high hierarchy, big lord, major lord, influencing each one of us, influencing the karmic changes for the world, for the collective, for each one of us. And I will remind again very briefly to you that as God Ninurta, he's the one who opened the gates and he allowed the great flood to come and water the human civilization. So he decides. Yes, of course, above him would be the celestial, the zodiacal belt. So the fixed stars would have higher hierarchy. Above you have the time lords, and then above you have the everything, the creation. So he also fulfills his karmic duties to us, to earth, in accordance with the creator, the creation. So everything he does is quite well mathematically calculated by the universal laws, by the creation. So Saturn is retrograde, he comes very near Earth, we will feel his presence certainly. Another reason for that is that he's in Aquarius, sidereal Aquarius. He becomes retrograde in the 25th degrees of Aquarius, and I will tell you what is the meaning of the 25th degrees of Aquarius. So he in Aquarius he's the old lord of Aquarius. So in Aquarius he's very, very potent. He's absolutely capable of fulfilling the most of the karma. Like when he's direct, when he's retrograde, he has no obstacles to do what he's meant to do. Like any aspects of planets only of planets only change a little bit the nature or the way we feel the events which take place, but Saturn in Aquarius will absolutely fulfill his mission in the best and most powerful possible ways. It's because he rules Aquarius. He turns retrograde and he will be for approximately 5 days stationary in the beginning when he turns retrograde, and later when he completes his mission, when he turns direct. So he becomes retrograde in the 25th degrees of Aquarius. These are very special degrees in the ancient astrology. We have only 7 such degrees, which are considered to be sacred. Only 7 among 360 degrees are sacred, because these are very, very spiritual degrees, very special degrees. They always connect us to the occult, to the to spirituality, to enlightenment, to higher consciousness. And let me remind to you, as humanity, the collective is very much connected already to the energy of Aquarius, where Saturn is, because we are at the doorstep, at the gates, if you want, of the era of Aquarius. Not yet, we are still in the era of Pisces, but we are already feeling the energy of Aquarius. So everything which is happening in Pisces or in Aquarius concerns each one of us. Doesn't matter if you live in Russia, China, India, Siberia, we all will feel the retrograde or the dark or the direct motions of Saturn, especially when in Aquarius. Also, who will feel this the most? People who are going through their Saturnian periods. For example, let's say you're running your Mars periods, then the planet Mars will be among the planets who have the highest impacts on you. But now, if you're in a Saturnian period, the everything which Saturn does, you will feel this. Anything when he's stationary, when he makes aspect, when he receives aspects from other planets, you will feel this for sure. Another thing is, of course, excuse me, very, very much depends on the placement of Saturn in your natal chart. This is of key importance, because Saturn is so important, and it makes big difference to extremes of his placements. A badly placed, poorly placed Saturn can bring poverty, disasters, misery, can bring difficult events. Well placed Saturn can bring growth, positions in society, wealth, rank, and more and more. So I tell you, Saturn also have this nature to denote extremes in the horoscopes of people, but this is predictable. When we see the chart, we know uh, what is the influence of Saturn, whether his influence is poor or mediocre or superb. He can be really, really very good. He can denote very high morals, good discipline, great rulers, moral and decent rulers, moral and decent people who live long, because he also is the Lord of Time, and he promises how long we're going to live. And also, he can bring extreme difficulties, poverty, sickness, and whatnot. So, like I say, really, really depends where Saturn is positioned and how he's placed in your natal chart. So, when I will be speaking about each of the 12 ascendants, I will just give you where you may expect changes, and where, in which areas of your life you may feel the influences of the retrograde motion of Saturn. But further details, of course, we need to see in your personal chart. And if you know how Saturn is placed in your chart, you already have idea how to address this retrograde motion. Now, another very important thing, when we look at the retrograde motion of Saturn, there are different ways and the different schools of astrology treat this really differently. Of course, when the planet is retrograde, obviously, already by its meaning, the planet would look backwards because it is retrograde. From what we see only, actually, the planet astronomically is not really moving backwards, but this is from our perspective. So actually, yes, it is obvious that when the planet goes retrograde, it is looking towards the past or is slowing down things which the planet means. I will be speaking about this in a second more. But also, there is this belief in the that the planet, when turning retrograde, is looking towards the previous house. For example, let's say you have ascendant Aries, and now Saturn is transiting through your ninth house, which is the house of the guru, which is house with benevolent nature in general. And now when Saturn is turning retrograde, he is having impact on your ninth house, like he would be influencing your studies, travel, philosophical views, religious views, studies, media work. But he will also look towards your previous house, eighth house, which is the house of occult, house of finances, house of secrets, house of many things. So this is, I believe that this is so. He will have to do with the previous house also. But there is this belief in the Indian Vedic astrology when they say that because he has impact on the third, seventh, and 10th houses, when he turns retrograde, he also has impact on the from the 30 to be the second, from the 17 to be the sixth, from the 10 to be the ninth houses. I personally cannot confirm that. From my experience, I did not see any very potent, very powerful influences of retrograde planet on these particular houses. So I just mentioned these two as an option. You can research this on your own, but from my experience, even if there is such impact, it may be not powerful enough. This is my personal opinion. So Saturn, there is also third opinion that I strongly support. Saturn as retrograde is not really that evil. It's not really that evil. And this is because when Saturn is direct, we already consider Saturn to be malefic, evil planet. When he turns retrograde, his evil energy would be reversed into something better. He doesn't necessarily become benevolent as Venus or Jupiter, but the evil energies which he may have would be reversed into something better. This is true, but again, big bracket, it depends on your natal chart. It really depends on the placement, the house where he is, house where he will be transiting in. So just to tell you that there will be many ways of analyzing this, but again, it has to be seen in the natal chart. We can be far more general and more precise when we speak about Jupiter, when we speak about Venus, but Saturn is a very special thing, and it really has his very personal impact. So this is one thing. And then, of course, I to come back to my initial point about Saturn turning retrograde in this 25th degrees Aquarius, there you have the generous waters Eridanos. These are the waters which are pouring from the water vessel of the waterman of Aquarius. This is Enki, the Lord, which is so one of the first in the beginning of time creators, according, of course, to the Mesopotamian mythology. So these degrees are very important. Water is memory, water is power, water is abundance, water is this great power, because water, fire, these are very potent, of course, energy and elements. So Saturn turning retrograde now in these degrees is only, and being stationary for a couple of days, is only emphasizing on great information, knowledge, a spiritual wave. It is like what we couldn't get through his direct time, we have the chance now to revise, to revisit in terms of knowledge, in terms of consciousness, awakening, enlightenment, because the waters Eridanus, the waters which the waterman is pouring are a lot about that. So this is when in the beginning of his cycle, and as you know, the beginning of every cycle is about the whole cycle. So all these 4 or 5 months of his retrograde cycle will be under the um, title of Saturn in the sacred degree. It will be sacred retrograde motion of Saturn, if you want. It is sacred. He will help us revisit knowledge, find out more, slow down, and have the patience to find out more, learn more. Um, so, because of the sacred nature of the degrees where he's starting his motion. So this is so very important, and it will be intense, slow, intense. Of course, when he's retrograde, um, let's say you start important matters which are ruled by Saturn. Let's say he's ruling your seventh house of business or business deals. You may have things slow down. So it is possible that he slows down matters for you. For example, matters, signatures of contracts, marriages. These things may be slowed down if he's ruling your seventh house, for example. This would be for ascendant Leo. If he's transiting, like I mentioned, and let me already actually start with the 12 ascendants. So, okay, so we're starting with people who have sidereal ascendant Aries, and I have to apologize. I said that Saturn is transiting through your ninth house. I don't know why I said that. Saturn is transiting through your third house, and he will have impact on the 11th. Please ignore my previous sentence. I will correct it now for you. So people who have sidereal ascendant Aries, or this is according to the sidereal astrology, or moon in Aries, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this would be Taurus. So if you use the sidereal ancient astrology, this is ascendant Aries. If you use the modern tropical astrology, this is ascendant Taurus. Use also your moon sign as an alternative if you don't have your time of birth. So for you, of course, Saturn is transiting through your 11th house. 25th degrees Aquarius is where he will be turning retrograde. Like I told you, this is just the end, the edge of the water Eridanus. Water related to amazing knowledge abundance. Now, if we apply the rule that Saturn may impact the previous house, because he's watching towards the past, the previous, and this would be your 10th house, he may have impact on your 10th house too. So he may influence your career, your also a little bit parents, relationship with parents. In two ways, he may ask you to revisit relationship, be kind, revisit career plans, projects. So this is also what he may do. In addition, he's turning retrograde in the 11th house, which is related to gains, to your plans. There, eventually, you may have delay because you may have to revisit your plans. You may have to revisit your hopes, your friendships. Could be that you see the true face of some of your friends, children. You may a little bit be annoyed by the behavior of your children, for example. How you approach this, a little bit, yes, like I said, depends on your natal chart, but also would depend on your understanding of the energy of Saturn, who is about time orientation, patience, discipline, and morals. But in general, 11th house is the house of the good spirit. So I don't think that this will be really um, dramatic Saturn in retrograde motion for you. Now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Taurus or moon in Taurus, or if you're looking from the perspective of the modern astrology, this is Gemini. For you, Saturn is turning retrograde on the 25th degree of your 10th house. Immediately, this may have impact on your career, and it will be strong, and it may be stronger even because Saturn will be aspecting Uranus and Jupiter on your ascendant. So your personal choices, your personal projects, career plans may need to be revised, to wait maybe. Could be that you have really solutions or maybe growth or move forward in November once he turns direct. If we apply the rule indeed that he looks towards the previous house, which would be the ninth house for you, he will be having influence on your um, spiritual belief system, religion, travel, long distance travel, media work, studies. You may think of revisiting certain study or spiritual work and so. So this is for you. But in general, he may really have serious influence on your choices because he has serious impact on your ascendant. Let's look now at people who have sidereal ascendant Gemini or moon in Gemini. Or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this is Cancer for you. Now, Saturn is turning retrograde on the 25th degrees of Aquarius, which is your ninth house, which is related to your belief system, your religion, your media work, your studies, education, long distance travel. All this eventually may be delayed because you may revisit your plans, your study method, your study subjects. For example, you may opt for revisiting and later on choosing something else. The ninth house has benevolent nature, so I don't think that this will be having bad impact on you. Just the other way around. It may really be very intrinsic, very much very deep for you to choose your right education, belief system. It can be very fruitful time and very sacred and very precious because he's trining the ascendant in a very, very good way. He will be, of course, you may need to be a little bit more responsible for your health, but he will help you to make the right decisions for yourself. And yes, he has impact on the eighth house, which is the hidden knowledge, which is the secret knowledge, which is the money of your partner or money from partnerships. This may be a little bit delayed. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Cancer or moon in Cancer, or according to the modern tropical astrology, this is Leo. For you, Saturn turns retrograde on your eighth house. This may have impact on your knowledge, desire to research occultistic, secret, hidden knowledge. This may have impact on yeah, there you may say, I will revise, I will research deeper. This may have impact on finances of your partner or from partnerships. There you may need also to revise things, to revisit contracts, agreements, unexpected finances from inheritances, insurances, or whatever it is. Also, this may have impact a little bit on your marriage. There you may have to be a little bit more diplomatic because he will have impact also on your seventh house while he will be retrograding and watching towards your seventh house of your marriage. You may feel that you may need to revisit agreements, contracts, and so. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Leo. Now also for you, Saturn, very interesting, very powerful. He is influencing you because he's on your seventh house becoming a retrograde, and also he's looking back towards your sixth house of your routine. Yes, also health. You may be a little bit more responsible for your health. He has a bit impact on your marriage, so you may need to be more diplomatic if you can, more intuitive, a little bit more careful. uh, because he may test a little bit your marriage, test your patience when it comes to marriage, relationships, agreements. He may have impact on, of course, he'll have influence also on your career and plans, because he's aspecting Uranus and Jupiter on your 10th house. So his retrograde motion will be a lot about making decision, revisiting your plans, agreements, your routine, the arrangement of your day, the schedule, the routine. So this is also one thing. Then we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Virgo or moon in Virgo, or if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Libra. For you, Saturn is transiting now through your sixth house, and he is becoming retrograde in the 25th degrees of your sixth house. This is your health. You already know you may need to be a little bit more responsible for your health. Also, you know that the two lunar nodes are passing through your ascendant, descendant. This is very important. Also, time of for you plans, new look at your everything that you do. Also, career, relationships, everything. But when Saturn is turning retrograde on your sixth house, he is looking also towards the fifth, knowledge. You may also have to revisit certain studies. You may have delay in studies or graduation. A little bit of to be careful with children, relationship with children. But in general, he will be he will be making you revisit your perception of health, also your own health. You may decide to study or research or revisit matters related to health. He may ask you to revisit your administration, the arrangement of your work, your routine. He may put on the table some disputes or disagreements with people so that you solve them. So he may bring you in the past in relation to relationships with people, revising your administration, your health, and so on. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Libra or moon in Libra, or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this is Scorpio. For you, Saturn is becoming retrograde in the 25th degrees of Aquarius, your fifth house. House of, yes, related to children, creative knowledge, studies, of course, your talented work. So all this will be somehow delayed so that you can revisit, so that you can make the right considerations, so that you can make the right decisions. You may rediscover art or talent which you didn't know you have. He may show you the true faces of friends. He may show you knowledge that you just maybe passed through and you didn't notice. You may have delay in studies because something else will come up. So this is in a very positive sense, because the fifth house is the house of the good fortune, and this is a benevolent house. He is watching towards fourth house. So be a little bit careful for your parents, and you may have impact on home. Fourth house, home, property, real estate. There you may experience delay if you are considering to, let's say, sell property, or you may reconsider. You may say, I'm not going to sell it, or you may delay in the sale. This also is a very possible development. Now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Scorpio or moon in Scorpio. And if you're following the modern tropical astrology, this is Sagittarius. For you, also quite important is this retrograde motion and the transit of Saturn in general, because you have already Uranus and Jupiter on your seventh house, very impactful on your chart. And Saturn is on the fourth and turns retrograde in the 25th degrees of Aquarius, your fourth house. All about your home, parents. This may have impact on indeed your home situation, rearranging your home. You may have small delay. Of course, depends how Saturn is placed on your chart, but the emphasis will be on property, on home, relationship with parents. This may have impact on agreements, your personal decisions, your romantic life, your marriage. So there you may need to be a little bit careful. He is also watching towards a third house, Capricorn, and this is your travel, studies, communication, relationships with brothers and sisters. There you may have small delay, but of course apply discipline, apply high morals, and this is actually your remedy. But in terms of travel, communication, new media plans, you may need to slow down, revisit, rearrange things, and so. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Sagittarius or moon in Sagittarius, or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this would be Capricorn. Now for you, Saturn is becoming retrograde on the 25th degrees of your third house, related to travel, media work, communication, brothers and sisters. All this will be slowed down. You may need to go through, revise it. So if you have plans related to media or new media project, or you're planning, let's say, travel or journey or voyage, all this may be a little bit delayed. You may need to reconsider. When you're making negotiations, you may have things said by the other party which may not come true, or they will not keep their promise, for example, or something in this direction. If you start studying during this cycle, you also may go through delay. That's why just revise, make sure that you make the right choices in terms of study, agreements, communication with people, and so. Also, he's watching towards the second house. Revise your investments, financial plans, money. He may have impact on your finances, and could be that this is the time to reconsider relationship with parents, with brothers and sisters. Sorry, not parents, with brothers and sisters, with neighbors, and so. Reconsider study, like revisit your study plans, and so. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Capricorn or moon in Capricorn, or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this would be Aquarius. For you, Saturn is turning retrograde in the 25th degrees of your second house, money, family roots, family matters. Financially, this could be that this causes a delay, and you may need to revise your financial plans, investments, everything. Could be that you revisit your relationship with family roots. Maybe this is a very good chance for you to reconsider, to bring peace. Also, he's watching towards your ascendant, the first house, which is about you, your plans, everything about you. So this will be very important time for making decisions, for revisiting choices, plans, relationships, study choices, financial plans, relationship in a romantic but also not sense, agreements, and so. And now we look at people who have sidereal ascendant Aquarius or moon in Aquarius, or if you're following modern tropical astrology, this is Pisces. So all this is happening right on your ascendant in the 25th degrees of Aquarius. And this is important for you, time to slow down, to revisit yourself, to meditate maybe and see what you really want to do with your career, with your romantic life, with your relationships, with your investments, with basically everything. Saturn is also visiting, watching towards your 12th house. Secret enemies, your secret place. This is your temple. This is your hidden place. This is about your spirituality. This is about your mission, if you want. So this is personally for you very, very important timing to revisit. Actually, almost everything. First house in astrology has influence on every other house because this is about you. So, see how Saturn will have influence on you. It is not necessarily bad. Could be that this is a time for you to make the most appropriate decision for your future. You will be given the time because he's slowing down. So this will be quite positive. He may give you also some information, insights on health, on winning over enemies. So in this sense, this can be very, very positive. And now the last sign, it is Pisces, people who have sidereal Pisces, moon in Pisces, or if you have modern, if you look at modern astrology, this is Aries. For you, Saturn is retro on your 12th house, health, your secret place, your tempo, your mission in life, your difficult karma that you pay. Health in terms of health, like your own health, but also health as matter, health, the way you approach health in general. So it will be a lot about health, about winning over enemies. You may be given the chance to, to win over enemies. He will give you the means, most probably, but he will give you the time also. This will be the time for you to take care of your personal, your own health. Also, he will have, he's watching towards your 11th house. Money, relationship with people, your plans, always about revisiting the karma. Very, very personal time for you. You may have slowed down a little bit in friendships, in your plans, and relationship with children. It could be that you are a little bit more attentive, a little bit more careful. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is about the 12 ascendants. One thing I forgot to say in the introduction part, this is that because he's turning retrograde in the 25th degree, if you have a planet in the 25th degree, the planet is receiving the influence automatically. So, in wherever your planet is, even if doesn't receive aspect from Saturn, simply because the planet is in the 25th degree, 24, 25th, the planet is like aspected by Saturn. So there also you may have the influence of Saturn. So this was about Saturn, his retrograde motion. I hope this was useful. If you want me to look personally in your chart how this will impact your life, your future, of course, you can have a reading with me, and my details are under this video. Thank you for your attention.